Hello everyone and welcome to our Professional Level Synoptic Facebook Live event. Now, there's going to be time for questions at the end, but due to the nature of Facebook Live, there's a bit of delay. So if you've got any questions now, if you post them now, comment on our post, and then I will pick them up later. Now, next week is Professional Level Synoptic Week. So that's one of the few times in the year where you can sit Professional Level Synoptic. So it seemed a very good time to do a Facebook Live like this. Now, whilst people join us and get caught up and just fill a bit of time, I just want to say anyone who shares this will be entered into prize draw, and someone will win a First Intuition mug chosen at random. There's no favourites here. Also, while I've got your attention, we have a 25% off discount on whole level live and online courses. Share it with a friend, family member, show someone you love them, buy them an AAT course. Nothing says love like an AAT course. Anyway, my name is Nick Craggs. I'm the AAT Distance Learning Director at First Intuition. Like the name says, I don't do anything other than distance learning. I don't do anything other than AAT. So I've spent the last week marking an awful lot of professional level synoptic mocks, such is my life. Now, the professional level synoptic exam is a particularly nasty exam. It brings in information from other units as well as its own, so there's an awful lot to remember, and it has a pass rate of 52%, which is pretty awful, really. Yesterday was actually results day for the synoptic week 6 weeks ago. So all the results came out yesterday, and really pleased to say we got an 83% pass rate with that, which is considered a national average of 52. It's nearly half as much again in old money. And a lot of work went into that, not just from the students, but a lot of tutors, a lot of marking. They love marking synoptic mocks. Really they do. Anyway, so I want to go through a few tips of what I feel, and what evidence sort of suggests, is the sort of things you need to bear in mind if you want to go into this exam and make sure that you do really well. Because with the nature of the synoptic windows, you find out yesterday that you perhaps didn't quite so well. You've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, next synoptic week. So you're right back into it. So you want to make sure that you really do have every chance of passing. Now, how cool is this? Now, these are my general tips of how to go about taking professional synoptic. Remember, it's a 3-hour exam. It's worth 100 marks. You go back to budgeting, which is a 2.5-hour exam, and it's 160 marks. You've got to work an awful lot harder in this exam for your marks. So if you get like a 5-mark question in budgeting, you'll write 3 or 4 good points, you'll be fine. You get a 5-mark question in here, you want to write 5 really good in-depth points. Now, the thing is, there's only 6 tasks, 4 of which are written with this exam, so you can't really miss one out because you're going to be in trouble if you do. However, just to settle your nerves and get some marks in the bag, task 1 of 5, they are very number-based. They're also marked by a computer. That makes a difference to you, but there's not as much, there's no writing involved in them, so you can't get bogged down in writing, and they're relatively easy. We'll come to what is in task 5 later on in this, but if you do them first and do very well, there's 30 marks available there. You can do them quite quickly. 30% already in the bag. Now, also be aware of what words mean, because it's a very wordy question. So when it says analyse, discuss, we're looking for an in-depth answer. Whereas if it says identify, just give us. So if it does identify the principle under threat, just give it the principle under threat. Whereas evaluate, there we're looking for you to obviously evaluate, but from that it's people look at, for example, a fixed budget, and they're going to go, it's horrendous, should be flexing the budget, it's the worst thing since sliced bread. There are some benefits to a fixed budget. It's cheap, it's easy to do. When you evaluate something, don't always look on the negative. And explain. We're going to come to this comes a lot in task 3, but if it says explain 5 weaknesses, don't give me 5 weaknesses because you're not going to do very well. Now, AAT have released their sample assessment and mark schemes, or SAMs, as we like to call it. And basically, it not only does it give you model answers like all the other AAT exams does, but it also gives you feedback from the people who are marking it, what they're looking for, what would have got good marks, what wouldn't. So I strongly suggest everyone goes through that, as well as the chief examiner's feedback. The other thing to remember, you don't need to know everything from decision control, budgeting and statements. Things like group accounting from financial statements are never, ever, ever going to be in the synoptic exam. So don't go learning everything. Go through the achieving examiners report and you can look at the learning outcomes. Or if you're one of my students, I've put them into English, and I've got a things you need to know for your synoptic document. So don't go learning everything. Be aware what is in the synoptic exam and what isn't. Now, this is unlike any other AAT exam in the fact that you get some pre-release material, a scenario, Rawhide. Some people spend an awful lot of time learning it. Do you need to learn it? You don't need to know it off by heart. No, you don't. But you need to have read it. You can't be sitting there going, I have no idea who Jim is or whatever. You need to know who is who. You need to know what the business is, industry it's in. You know what its background is. You need to know what the systems are. However, don't sit there calculating a load of ratios, then learning ratios, because the odds are you can forget them, and the odds are you're probably not going to get asked those ratios anyway. So don't sit in there trying to memorise everything. Just make yourself comfortable with the scenario. Now, the big secret, I believe, for passing this exam is marks, and more marks, and if possible, get it marked by a tutor, because there's 6 tasks, 4 of which are written. It's very hard to mark your unwritten stuff. You tend to get 2 sorts of students, one that writes something really, really good, but because it's not the same as model answers, think we'll get any marks, and one who likes a lot of rubbish and thinks it's really good. The other thing that I took away from the AAT conference last week, which was great fun, is when you see words when they're describing accounting systems like should, normally, usually, when things happen, that means that it doesn't always happen. These are weaknesses in the accounting systems. So watch out for them. So they're my general tips, but now I want to go through the actual exam task by task, because there's only 6 tasks, we've got plenty of time. Task 1 is all about detecting fraud and weaknesses in the accounts. There's a lot of stuff that's like level 2, so you need to know, what would cause difference between purchase ledger control and purchase ledger. There's lots of things about that, and what controls would pick up errors and what wouldn't. Ethics, you've got to know your 5 fundamental principles, and you need to know the difference between the fundamental principles and the threats. So if you ask for the principle under threat, don't say familiarity, because that's a threat, it's not a principle. Another thing that comes up quite a lot is what is in a cash flow? What is going to affect the cash flow of the business? What is only an accounting aspect? For example, depreciation doesn't affect cash flow. So make yourself very comfortable with what is a cash item and what isn't. That's task 1. You should do very well on task 1 if you're well prepared. Task 2 is the first written question that comes up. It's generally you are looking to highlight areas of weakness or things that can be improved in a budget or budgetary systems. So I see a lot of students sometimes, they will write about how the business has not done very well because of this, that and the other, and that is not what the question's on about. The question is about problems with the budget, not how the company didn't meet the budget. So make sure you answer the question. Loads of focus here on budgeting, decision control, and it will ask about different methods and types of budgeting, so flex budgets, fixed budgets. This is whether you evaluate fixed budgets, bit come up, advantages and disadvantages of top down, bottom down, again evaluating, rolling budgets, all that sort of thing. There's a lot of budgeting theory with that one. That's one that students typically find difficult according to the chief examiner. Question 3, this should be one where you do really, really well. It's generally find areas of weakness and areas of possible fraud, and as long as your answerable is sensible, you will get the marks. But it's not just a case of identify 5 weaknesses, because you're not going to get 15 marks for that. You need to explain why they're weaknesses. You potentially need to explain what possible consequences there are for the business with these weaknesses if it was exploited. So this is where when we say explain it, really. But like I say, it's good for marks. If you can pick up plenty of points from the scenario, you should be able to justify them and get marks. Task 4, not quite so easy. This is more analysing the decision making of management and as to why they've done it. is there a bonus involved and things like that, where ethical considerations could maybe come in. We also bring in things like the triple bottom line, how this is, or the business is not meeting the triple bottom line. But the key feedback the examiner wants to stress is provide enough detail. Remember how many marks there are available for each part. Make sure you are getting them. 1 or 2 points over a couple of lines is not going to get the marks. Remember, you've got to work a lot harder in this question. And the other thing is, in this question, you are normally given numbers. You are normally given numbers for a reason, and that is to back up your answers. There's a very reason why you back up your answers, because it shows significance, it shows importance. You know, if you can demonstrate that one number is significantly greater than another, that shows a lot more than just saying this number is bigger than another number. So it adds a lot of clarity to your answer. So that's question 3 and 4. Question 5, you should be doing amazingly well on question 5. It's all about ratios. Ratios have been budgeting, they've been decision control, they've been in financial statements, they don't really change. You really should be doing very well on this. So the first part is calculate some ratios. The next part is explain some ratios, and it could be what's caused the ratio, or what does that ratio mean to the business. Now, for example, working capital cycle, debtor days, creditor days, inventory days, what do they show? Do they show they've got poor grasp of inventory management? Are they not very good at chasing their debts? Are they using a just-in-time basis for inventory? Whereas things like gross margin, operating profit margin, what's caused them? Have they got overhead spiral out of control? Has there been a reduction in selling price that's meant the gross margin's gone down? Can you link them? Ideally, so all things being equal, gross profit margin goes up, you expect operating margin to go up. Gearing, remember, gearing is such an important ratio in all units, really. So you've really got to understand, what drives gearing. Your long-term debt versus equity, that sort of thing, and you can explain what effect. It's risky is having highly geared. So you need to know the ratios. To calculate them, but then just as importantly to explain them. And the last one, finally you've got enough time left in your 3-hour exam, is question 6, which is analysing internal controls and then making recommendations on your analysis. Again, ethics comes up. Now, one of the most common models that comes up is SWOT analysis, and one of the key things we hear back from AAT time and time again is your strengths and weaknesses should be internal, whereas your opportunities and threats should be external. So if you're asked to think of a threat and Jim in credit control isn't chasing debts, that's a weakness. It's not a threat because it's internal. Whereas something like a large rival has just set up in business near you, that's a threat because it's external. And the main thing is relate it to the scenario. Things will be in this question. You'll be given more sort of impact information in the exam, and it's there for a reason. So relate that to the scenario. Now I'm going to move on to any questions. So if you've got any questions, start typing now because we have a bit of delay with Facebook Live. So like I said before, anyone who shares this will be put into the prize draw to win a First Intuition mug. You can't even buy these. I get people asking to buy these and you can't buy these. That cool. So yeah, anyone who shares this will get, well, potentially may get a mug. Don't forget, we've got 25% off our online whole level and live online whole level AAT courses until the 12th of June. Remember to pay with interest-free instalments. Yeah, questions away. So, one left for Donna. Will Rawhide be used for July and September sittings? Now, we've not had anything in writing as yet from AAT, but last year, after telling us, we would get years of advance notice if they're going to change the scenario with Professional Synoptic. They changed the scenario in Professional Synoptic. It goes about 8 weeks, which is great, but in that 8 weeks, we didn't actually have the scenario for those full 8 weeks. And then once you've got the scenario, you've got to write some textbooks, write some mocks, get them to a student, get the students through the mocks, and ready for an exam at the beginning of October, which, as you imagine, wasn't great fun. We are assuming that come the new calendar or new academic year, AAT will be changing the scenario. To what? We don't know. We've not seen it. We fed back to AAT that they probably want to give us a bit more notice next time because it wasn't much fun, but they haven't as yet. But we assume. So Rawhide will be this sitting. Rawhide will be July. The next one, don't know really, but probably not is our guess. Slides available after the live video today. Never thought of that, but yes, I can get them if you email me at aat@fi.co.uk. You can have them. Don't worry. Feel free. No copyright or anything. It's Friday. The love never ends. Any focus groups are just going to Rawhide as a company bounce idea around with us. AT Students Independence Group. That's really good. AT Students Independent Group. There's the AT form. There's loads of people asking on the AT form. They're very lost. Conscious. I wouldn't get overly hung up about thinking this could happen or this could happen, this could happen, because the odds are it won't happen. Just make yourself aware of Rawhide. I mean, I saw someone the other day ask, is it a good idea to read the scenario before the exam? Yes. It's more than a good idea. You should read the scenario before the exam. Should you learn it off by heart? No. I mean, the scenario is given in the exam. Don't forget. You will have access to the scenario. But, you've got the scenario. Then you're going to have impact information within the exam. So it's not, you can't predict that. And it varies every time. Each exam is written for each sitting. So don't spend a lot of time there. If you've only got a certain amount of time, i.e. tonight, tomorrow and Sunday, to get ready for your exam, spend more time on mocks. Mocks. Don't sit there just learning Rawhide because it's not a great use of your time, to be honest. Any other questions? So it's like, it is a bit of a pain exam. No one really gets 100% in this exam. It's an awful exam. We're just looking for pass. Remember, 70%. All we want is 70%. And if you get task 1, task 5, there's 30%. Then you're only looking for another 40% from the remaining 70%. So, just over half marks in all the rest. So you just got to do your best. Points make prizes, and the prize is passing synoptic again that hour of your life. So yeah, don't beat yourself up if you get 72%. I know loads of students who they would just take 70 and that would do. Move on, get on to the optional units. Personal tax, it's great fun. Everyone loves personal tax. Not that I'm biased or anything. But yeah, as professional level synoptic. Not in a nutshell, because it's a 3-hour exam, you can't do that in a 20-minute Facebook Live, but yeah, hopefully that will go some way towards helping you pass this exam and moving on and, I don't know, doing ACCA, SEMA, going on, setting the world on fire, whatever. Anyway, what you give to students to ensure the writing is concise and prevents waffling. Send it to a tutor to mark. And the other thing you've got to remember is make sure I can't stress, make sure you're writing, you are answering the question. So if it says explain weaknesses in the budgetary procedure, make sure you explain weaknesses in the budgetary procedure, not explaining how the company didn't meet the budget, because that's not what you've been asked. And the thing is, when you're doing your practice and you're doing things, think to yourself, what I've just written there, does that add value to the user? Does it add clarity? Does it make a point? If it just fills a box, what's the point, really? So yeah, the other thing to remember is the mark scheme is there for a reason. So for every individual breakdown of the task, you will know how many marks is available. So if it's 3 marks, don't be spending 20 minutes on it, because that's great. You've got to remember the mark scheme is limited. The marker can't think, that's a great answer, Jenny. I'm going to give you an extra 10 marks because that's brilliant, because the marker will only probably have 3 marks to give out. So once you hit those 3 marks, if you made 3 well-explained points for 3 marks, don't write a 4th. If you're confident those 3 right, don't write a 4th, because you're not going to get any marks. Remember the mark scheme, because the exams are marked by different people, the mark schemes have to be quite prescriptive, and you'll get a mark for this, this and this. You won't get a mark for that, even if you write it, even if it's really interesting. If it's not in the mark scheme, if it's not relevant, it's not answering the question, don't put it, because it's not answering anything. And I believe a big secret to that is do some work, get it marked by ideally a tutor, if not another AAT student, if you're self-studying. get someone else to look at it, because you sit there and go, oh, that's great, I wrote that, and it's probably not, really. What other questions we got? Any tips for the budget submission assumption question? Yeah, there's loads of stuff in that question 2 thing, and you've got to think, why is it there? Like, I think one of our mocks, we say, there's a recession on, and then we also later on, we're going to put the price up, and we expect volume to go up. Now, that's not the norm. You question everything, question every assumption. Why have they made that assumption? And then the other thing I always think about is think about cost behaviour. Go right back to level 2. So if your volume isn't going up, your variable costs shouldn't be going up. If your volume's going up, why would your fixed costs go up? That sort of thing. Why have they assumed that that's going to go up? If there's a price change, how have they justified that? Don't think, we're going to put our price up, so we're going to make more revenue. It's like, well, that's great, but is that actually likely? Is it achievable? Question everything. And there's loads of stuff in that scenario about things that they've done with no justification. And then, again, think back to sort of ethical considerations, because if you're tight like me, money means everything. Is there a bonus involved? Why would they possibly be doing that if there's a bonus involved? Like Scully and Mulder says, question everyone. Spelling grammar, no. Spelling grammar is not marked. Spelling grammar is only marked in Foundation Synoptic. If it's completely unreadable, you're not going to marks. As a marker, you've got to be able to go to a chief examiner and say, look, I give 3 marks for this, and justify it. If you've given 3 marks and it just isn't meaningful sentences, as a marker, I couldn't justify it. I'm going to lose my job. So, some people think bullet points, and I was like, do bullet points save that much time? A little bit. It's fine, bullet points, but just get something down. Don't overly worry about spelling or grammar. But just remember, it is being marked by a human who has to understand it. Anyone else for any questions? You haven't got long. 3 days, usual thing. The results come out a week before Synoptic Week. It's not, it's not ideal, but that's just the nature of it. So cool. Like I say, anyone who I see sharing this will be entering a prize draw to win. Probably not this one because I've got my hands all over it, but probably a clean one, for being honest. And we also have 25% off our online, live and live online courses, paying interest-free instalments. Tell the world, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your kids, get it out there. 25% off until the 12th of June. Cool, thanks for all attending, and I'll go and mark some Synoptic mocks now.